Welcome to this Sahara 4 exercise. In this exercise, after automatically generating the patterns, the flow elements in the last exercise, we will now calculate the pore volume inside each one. So now we will go to our Sahara project, and once here we will go to simulator, pattern and coefficients, and once here we will have this option available here, the pore volumes, in which we can see that we can select which wells we will do the calculation in, now in the same as in the option to erase the the patterns that go through faults. We can select if we want to calculate in elements that have both or just one of the wells selected. We will just leave it with just one of them, so we will ensure that we have all the wells selected and all the layers. So we are going to calculate the pore volume for all the flow elements. And now we have different options here. We can either do it with a pore volume map, which is the best option because we will calculate directly with the data coming from the map. We have the pore volume map here available. If we don't have that data, we can do it with this one here. We can calculate it with layer thickness and porosity coming from petrophysical data, which is not the optimal option because in this case the calculation is going to be done with an average of the petrophysical data in each well, in the injector and the producer, and then it's going to be multiplied by the area of the flow element. So the calculation is not as good as doing just the map, because if you consider the map is going to have a mapping algorithm that is going to give you a more precise data than with just an average between injector and producer, but the option is available. A flow that is quite common here is to calculate the flow elements of all the ones that are inside the map, and then do it calculate again using this option here with the ones that are not, because if you have a flow element that is outside the map, the pore volume calculated is going to be 0. So you run the calculation normally with the map, then you check this and change to this option and do it for those flow elements that are not inside the map. You can do a run just with the petrophysical data and have a not as good, but at least something close to the real pore volume of the flow element for those that are outside the map, which in this case are going to be the ones that have pore volume 0. So yeah, you have these two options here, as we said, as we discussed, with the pore volume map or with the petrophysical data using a thickness and a porosity defined inside the petrophysical data variables. So now we have we will do it with the map because we know that in the case of the project that we have prepared for this case, the map is going to encompass the whole project. So we are not going to have any flow, or we shouldn't have any flow element outside of the map. Anyways, we will run the calculation now. We will uncheck this because we want to do for all the flow elements, and here you have a factor that you can use if you want to do a more pessimistic approach and consider that maybe your pore volume map is too optimistic, or the petrophysical data that you have loaded is too optimistic, so you may want to use a factor to reduce the total pore volume calculated. So now we will click on calculate, and now we can see that actually there are some, well, this layer were created afterwards, so we shouldn't be surprised that we don't have any information about any of these ones. But here we do have some flow elements from in the layer 25 from the injector D6 to these producers here, where we don't have data, so we will have to review this in a future exercise. For now, let's save this report here. Let's save it as pore volume flow element pore volume report. So we will review what exactly is going on with this particular case, with this layer 25 and this injector D6. And then we will review what is going on as well with the layer 21 where we don't have any data. So let's click on OK and let's check. Here you can check if you run the calculation right by plotting the porosity of the flow elements. So we will select here on the variables on the map window on the properties here the pore volume, and we will check, and actually you can see that we have pore volume calculated for each different flow element, that when the flow element is modified, it should change accordingly to the new area that is being considered. So the calculation was done correctly, except on the cases that we have reviewed, that now we will review in a future exercise what's going on with this in the layer 25. So that will be everything for this tutorial, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.